Hi there, and welcome to Sid Meier's Alien Crossfire, an Alpha Centauri expansion, and a Brian Reynolds design. With me, Daniel from Dan Has Fun. Hello, hope you're doing well today. This is an old game. 1999. It's not even the first... To be fair, it's not even the first game from 1999 I've had on my channel. So if you do like watching the old stuff, go take a look at the channel, subscribe if you want to. Terrible plug aside, this game has a soft spot in a lot of people's hearts. Now, admittedly, it came out before I knew anything about computers in any way. I'm an early 90s baby, what can I say? So, didn't really play any of this when it first came out. Didn't play this until probably decade and a half, maybe, after it came out, something in that ballpark. But it is very well revered. It is not a game that I'm an expert on, for sure. But it is a game that very, very much still feels fun to play even to this day, which is hard. You don't hear that a lot from a lot of 90s strategy games, mainly because the UI is terrible. Games just generally age poorly. They look bad. This game still looks beautiful now in its own way. The UI, I've got some quirks with and qualms with, but we'll talk about that more as we get there. So, standard 4X game. But we are not on Earth anymore. We are on, well, what kind of looks like the Earth in the background there. It is not. It is planet, or Chiron. And rather than talk everything to death about it, let's kind of just talk a bit more organically. I'm going to move my... No, we'll leave my face there. It's a pain. This game, because it's old, is hard to record as well. So you're just going to stick with my mug and I'll explain the settings you can't see in the background. Once we're in the game, it'll be fine. Please do subscribe to the channel if you want to see me play through this. We're going to play it in such a way that all the cutscenes we will watch, all of the quotes we will listen to, because there are some absolute bangers in this game. We're just going to chill and have fun, although we're not going to play on easy peasy difficulty. We are also playing with the PRACX update, which apparently makes the AI significantly better, so we might just get curb stopped. That could be fun too, right? So let's start. So we're going to make a custom random map. You can just have like a default map of planet, but anybody can play that. So let's play something random. We're going to have a standard planet size. Normally I'd go bigger than that, but I want this game to be able to end at some point this decade, so just in case we'll go standard size. Then we can pick things like ocean coverage, which is going to go down the middle, erosive forces down the middle, native life forms, which we'll definitely talk about more in the near future, going down the middle as well. Same with cloud cover. Difficulty levels, you can't see them all behind me, but we have citizen, specialist, talent, librarian, thinker, and transcend. Easy to hard, respectively. We're going to go librarian, so it'll still probably be quite difficult. As you can see, there's the title. You can see, I promise. The biggest noticeable difference between these, really, other than just the fact that the first couple of difficulties the AI has gimped something fierce, is that your settlements get much more unhappy the harder you get. So we'll go librarian. And in terms of rules, there are a lot of rules, as you can see there. We have a lot of similar victory types to a standard 4X game, but we do have some different ones. We have an economic victory. We have a cooperative victory. We'll talk more about it as they kind of, again, organically come up during the game. But things that we definitely do want to have that I want to talk about. Blind research. So in most 4X games, you see a big tech tree or tech web or whatever it is, depending on the game. And then you pick the tech you want and you start researching it. By default, that is not really how this game works. So this game has kind of 4 prongs of research. And you can't tell what you're going to research, but you can kind of push your scientists to go in a vague direction you want them to go. It does not mean you will get a tech from that branch by any stretch of the imagination, but if you leave it on just one the whole game, you're going to have more of that tech type than any other. That's how the AI tends to handle it. We're going to leave it blind because having this turned on makes it kind of like every other 4X game, and it makes it much easier for the human, because we know which techs we really want to beeline for. Or at least I know a couple of them. So we're going to leave that on. We are going to have it so that we do have do or die turned off, because if an AI gets smashed early, we want to see them in the game. We want some more variety. We're not going to pick luck first because I feels like it's cheating. I think with spoils will walk. It's cool to be able to get a free tech if you take a city, but it feels kind of broken. especially because there's one faction in this game that gets that bonus inherently. Not that we're going to see them, but let's go talk about the factions. What a beautiful segue. So there are 7 factions in the base Alpha Centauri game, and 7 in the Alien Crossfire expansion. The 7 originals are pretty unique. So this game, it's not like, say, Egypt declares war on England, like it would be in most 4X style games. What it is that these factions are split based on their ideology. So, for example, Gaia's stepdaughters here, led by Deirdre Sky, is all about coexisting with the planet that we've now landed on. They don't want to destroy all the wildlife. They don't want to become the wildlife. They just want to be able to coexist with it. Then we have, say, the human hive, whose priority is really nothing to do with the environment. It's more to do with just utilizing humans as a resource in and of themselves. All about police states, and he was terrible in Alpha Centauri to play, but the Alien Crossfire expansion makes him pretty broken. We're going to talk more about their traits when we run into them. We have the University of Planet, which is all about science at the cost of ethics, so they tend to have unhappier populations. Morgan Industries with Naruto K. Morgan, all about making that big dosh wonga. The Spartans, which are the kind of survivalist faction, the planet attacks them, they want to attack it back. I don't think they're very interesting, honestly, from a lore perspective, but what are you going to do? Then we have the Law's Believers through Sister Miriam Godwinson. I shudder because she's a nightmare as the AI. The AI is very aggressive in this game anyway, but it dials up to 11 when it's playing as her. They're all about fielding massive armies of low-tech, typically, and they're really good at spying, too. And then we have the Peacekeepers through Prav and Lal, who is genuinely trying to do the thing they were coming to this planet to accomplish, which is to say, kind of build a new Earth society through diplomacy, bureaucracy, all the fun stuff we deal with today. If you're playing this game as a new person, this is the faction I recommend, because they are kind of a jack-of-all-trades, master of none, but they do also get a bonus in diplomacy. So it makes them... It's still not easy, because again, the AI is crazy aggressive, but they're much less wieldy to use than anybody else. They also get happiness bonuses through extra talents, which again, we'll talk about later. The Alien Crossfire factions are unbelievably broken. Some of them, like the Alien factions, are crazy broken on the overpowered side, especially the Usurpers. Absolutely wild. The Pirates are also crazy broken because they're the only faction that start in the water, which is an astronomical advantage, because you have, on the average map, you're going to have 30 or 40% water, and you get to pick everything you want out of that, pretty much before anybody else can do anything. And you get a bonus in water too, so pretty broken. Then we have factions that are just incredibly similar to other factions, so like the Cybernetic Consciousness, who are just the university with a very small tweak. Then we have what I would say is like the one relatively balanced faction in the expansion, Foreman Domai of the Drones. That's who we're going to play as, because you don't see a lot of that on YouTube. Terrible at science, can build better than anybody else though. So, it's fun. I like playing as this faction. It is not a very good faction, but I'd say it's reasonably balanced. Then we have what I would describe as 2 rubbish factions. So we have the Data Angels, who are just really good at spying, and that's it. I mean, spying is potentially important in this game. Again, we'll get into espionage as well later on. But they're just not very fun, and they're not very good. But I think the Cult of Planet through Chiron are absolute hot garbage. Like, absolutely terrible. They're basically the Gaians if you dialed everything up to 100 and then killed all their industry and economy. I do not like. They also play the game into this disgusting hot pink colour on the map. Everything's going against them for me. Like, no thank you. I'm no expert at this game, by the way, so if you disagreed with anything I just said, you're probably right and I'm probably wrong. But we're gonna introduce this somehow. So yeah, what we're gonna do is we're gonna pick random but we're going to pick the 6 of the original factions, because I do think, again, they're the most balanced, they're the most interesting. But instead of having the Spartans, because I think they're just not they're just not interesting, really, out of that original group. The rest are so interesting, and then they're just there. We're going to go and play as the 3 drones. This should still be a fairly aggressive game. Like, again, all the AI is aggressive to a degree, but some AIs are set up to be far more aggressive than others. You can probably guess which ones are the most aggressive. I also realised I put the believers on twice. Oh my word, what an awful world that would be to live in. That would be the worst. Thank goodness we caught that. So yes, we're going to play as Domai. And let's give a little bit more explanation about him specifically, just because we're going to be playing as him. So yes, +2 industry means everything gets built 20% faster. -2 research, everything is researched 20% slower, although it kind of feels more than that. When we get into it, you'll see. Revolting bases tend to join drones, so what's meant to happen is that if other faction cities get really upset, they have a chance of joining you. It's incredibly rare that that seems to happen, at least from my experience. I don't know if the PRACX update fixed that in any way, but I think I've seen that happen like once ever. And then we have, yeah, -1 drones in every base. So we just have cities that are just a little bit more cooperative. Drones are unhappy populations that won't do any work. And if you have them outnumber your regular, what we call talents, that will cause a drone riot and your city will stop doing anything. And if it drone riots for long enough, it will start breaking buildings and maybe joining us. So we, in theory, don't have to deal with the latter issue. We also can't use green economics, which is a shame, because that's very good. We'll talk about social engineering when we unlock our first one. So let's go listen to Domai for a moment, and then we'll properly begin.
Now it's day and night the irons clang, and like poor galley slaves, we toil and toil, and when we die, must fill dishonored graves. But some dark night, when everything is silent in the town, I'll shoot those tyrants one and all. I'll gun the flogger down. I'll give the land a little shock. Remember what I say, and they'll yet regret they've sent Jim Jones in chains to Botany Bay. Jim Jones, traditional.
That actually wasn't Domai, but, well, it was him talking, just it's not his quote. So, let's click OK. Domai, a new era of struggle and opportunity awaits you. The UN Starship Unity has arrived in the Alpha Centauri system after a 40-year voyage. All contact with Earth has been lost. After Captain Garland's assassination by an unknown assailant, the pilot, the crew mutinied and split into factions. In the ensuing conflict, some seized control of the Unity's colony pods. You now shape the destiny of your free drone faction, which has just made planetfall. Okay. Kasploosh! Yeah, we'll just call it Free Drone Central. Okay. So, for most people who have not played this game, they're going to be looking at this thinking, what on earth is going on? So let's have a very quick overview, and then we'll really get into the game proper. As a heads up, you're going to notice some weird graphical glitches on this screen specifically. I've got my mouse over. It's to do with the fact I've adjusted the resolution, because otherwise the cutscenes that we get will look horrendous. So it's a compromise that's had to be made. So we get a fat cross because this is based on the Civ 2 engine. So all these tiles we can potentially work. We only have one population, so we're clearly not working them all. But that's the space we can reach. This at the bottom is going to be where all of our units in this city or specific tile are. We have one unit. A scout with 1 attack, 1 defense, and 1 movement. It's the most basic of basics. We have some terrain here, some quite grassy, moist areas. They're going to be better for producing food. We have some, you can see, with little kind of brownish grey circles. That's some rockiness, that those tiles produce more production at the cost of nutrients, typically. And you can also see a little bit of bumpiness. The elevation is incredibly important in this game. The higher you are, the more energy solar panels can make. And depending on where you are relative to hills, will determine how kind of moist an area is. So this area we're at is pretty moist. It's nice dark green. We like to see that. Other areas that are maybe to the east of a mountain range are going to be really, really arid and dry. So they're going to be terrible for growing things in. All the red stuff is fungus that the native life lives in and will spawn occasional units to ruin our day. We're not a green-based faction. We can't even pick green economics. So we're probably just going to be trying to get rid of the fungus as soon as we can, because we can't get anything productive out of that. Some factions can. We are not one of them. Other thing we want to do is we do want to turn the governor on. We don't want him to manage production, but we do want him to manage citizens and specialists, including drone riots. The governor's not perfect. The AI is not great at this, but you don't want to be micromanaging everything, otherwise this game will take, take an eternity to play, depending how far along we get. So that's what we're going to do. This is our build queue. This is what we're currently building. Each one of these blocks is a mineral needed to create said unit. We get a 20% bonus, so we have 2 less of these than every other faction would for the same unit. This is what we can build right now. Not a lot, because we don't have any technology other than the one that we start with, which I think is like, what, industry base, I think, is Domai. So, yeah, that's one unit we're going to have. We're going to get another scout patrol for sure. We're going to grow in 10 turns, so if we build a colony pod, that'll be perfect timing. Just going to click OK on that for now. Moving units is typically done with your number pad because this is an old game. Only other thing we want to bring up is the research priorities. So, these are the 4 sections I was talking about. So we have Explore, Discover, Build, and Conquer. Explore is usually better like chassis, so different unit types you can build, things like workers, maybe things that can go over water, maybe things that can go in the air. Things like that. Discover usually is science for science sake, so sometimes you get, science and technologies that gives you free technologies. Other ones just give you wonders or maybe special abilities for troops. This is a general rule of thumb. There is a lot of overlap. Build is your infrastructure, so your buildings to get into your colonies, and then conquer is how easily can you blow stuff up. Pretty self-explanatory. Domai as an AI faction always starts and stays on build, which is why it's selected. We are not doing that. That is the wrong decision. We're going to do this. Because we have no idea who's near us. If it's an aggressive faction, we don't want to get wiped out immediately. But we do want to explore because we want the ability to build units that are not just infantry because they're slow and rubbish. With all of that said, we need to move our unit. And close that menu. Get out of the way.
Turn complete.
You're going to hear turn complete a lot early game because these turns are going to go by really quick. So we just build our second scout patrol. Proceed. Thank you. And we're going to go a little bit risky.
Complete.
We're not going to put any troops in our city straight away. You can tell it's got no troops in it because the number of population doesn't have a coloured background. And there's a mind worm immediately. That was quick. So, native life in this game. Most of them are mind worms, or worms of some variety. At least early game. It does change more as the game goes by. They're tiny worms. How scary could they be? Well, they are terrifying and use psi on you. And it doesn't matter if you have baby pew-pew hand weapons or, quantum quark cannon. It doesn't matter. You're still going to be terrified of them. So it's your morale of your troops that matters far more than your actual weapon against mindworms. If you're doing land-based combat against mindworms, but you want to be the attacker too, because you get a big bonus. So, I have the odds set up, so we know when we get into combat what we're going to see. 21-7. Why didn't it just round down to 3-1? Who knows? But proceed as ordered. I have the sound effect for combat pretty low, audio-wise. Because later on there are some weapons that sound like clawing your nails onto a chalkboard. So you'll thank me later. Our scout patrol has performed admirably and is now disciplined. They start as green because they've never seen combat before and we don't have any morale bonuses. But as they beat these worms or any other troops up, they start to gain more confidence and become better units.
Turn complete.
Notice my guy did the shimmy and didn't move. This requires 3 movement to go into. He only has 1, so there's a chance that every turn he's going to fail to make that move. So that's what that means. See, you failed again.
Energy resources.
We got a free energy resource on that tile, so right now the governor's like, hey, this is 2 food, 1 production, that's pretty good. We could choose to do this one, but that's the wrong decision. So we'll let him move back. This start's got some okay tiles. We're really looking for something called a monolith. I'm hoping this tile's going to be a monolith, if we can ever move to it.
Complete. Turn
How many
complete.
turns are you going to fail? It is a monolith. Amazing. I didn't know. I haven't saved. Actually, speaking of which, I should do YouTube 0. Because one of the big foibles with this game is that its idea of where factions should start seems to be pretty lacking.
Turn complete.
So I've had a game before. Every game always has 7 factions to start. That's non-negotiable. But I've had it so that one island that took up about 1/3 of the map had every faction bar 1 on it. So one faction had a gigantic amount of land all to themselves, and everybody else was just fighting amongst each other. The AI loves to do that. It also loves to start you next to other factions, like 4 or 5 tiles away sometimes.
Turn complete.
But so far, I haven't seen anybody, so that's good.
Turn complete.
We want to see somebody,
Turn complete.
not straight away,
Production complete.
because we want to share text with them, but we don't want them right up our backside either. So Free Drone Central's just built a colony pod. You lose a population when you do that. You see, we went from 2 to 1. It's suggesting build another one. We're going to say no. We do genuinely need a unit to defend this place, so we're going to get a garrison. Our next question is, where do we want to settle this colony pod? Because we haven't really seen anywhere amazing. Here's Mount Planet, by the way. This is why this is so moist, because we're west of this mountain. I don't know what's down here or down here yet. This area looks okay. There's a river here, which is pretty good. Don't typically scout with your colony pod. That's not typically the way to go.
Complete.
But we are so lacking in knowledge about what's around us that we're going to have to some degree. And the answer here is there's not a lot. So, do we want to settle down here? Is there anything critically important? Not really. There's not a lot of food there, so there's probably yeah, well, we can see there's a mountain here. Maybe we want to settle in that rough area, but we're too isolated if we do that. So we're going to go settle in this area instead. And we're going to wait a turn and heal just a smidge in case that colony pod next to us has big bads in it.
Turn complete. Turn complete.
We're going to go for it.
Recovered.
We have... Okay, it's just money. That's fine. So, this game, having some tile overlap in your cities, in my opinion, is perfectly okay. As long as it's not crazy excessive amounts. Now you can go for a colony pod. You'll notice we have the forces supported option at the bottom here, next to my face. We have 3 units being supported. The first scout you get doesn't have to be supported. It's fine, it's a freebie. But we have our second scout that we built, our garrison unit, and our colony pod. But the third unit we built has this unit of minerals next to it. We have a base support of 0, which means we can support 2 units per base for free. If you use up more than that, then each unit you build is going to cost you a mineral to maintain, which is why we don't want to go too crazy. But you do want to stay in place, because I don't want a mine worm coming in and wrecking my day. Do we want to settle here or move 1 tile further? I think we're okay settling here. I want a little bit of overlap, but I don't want tons. And again, it's about trying to keep our cities safe. We have created our first city in 2117. Lal did so in 2105 because he starts with a colony pod. We don't get a lightning start like that. We do want to get a synth metal garrison, and then we're probably going to go for a colony pod and see kind of where we're at in terms of minerals.
Pod recovered.
Ooh, free Unity rover, you love to see that. And it's also independence, we're not paying for it. A rover is basically, in many ways, an infantry with another movement point. There's a bit more to it than that. They get a bonus attacking in open ground, whereas infantry gets a bonus attacking cities.
Turn complete.
But they're both ground units, they don't have a huge amount of difference. We have got a data pod, so we get a free tech.
The righteous need not cower before the drumbeat of human progress. Though the song of yesterday fades into the challenge of tomorrow, God still watches and judges us. Evil lurks in the data links as it lurked in the streets of yesteryear. But it was never the streets that were evil. Sister Miriam Godwinson, The Blessed Struggle.
So yes, that's our religious nutcase faction. It is crazy that they're talking about a scientific tech like this. But yeah, information networks give you the network node. The University of Planet starts with these for free. Give you 50% more labs, which is science, at a base by 50%. Yeah, 50% increase, pretty big. You can study alien artifacts. We have not run into one yet, which is a shame, because early game they are massive. So hopefully we will run into one, but we don't know.
Turn complete.
Wow, getting really unlucky going into Xenofungus. Really unlucky. 12 and 8, that works. That balance is fine. You sit in place.
Turn
Hey, you
complete.
finally made it, and there's a monolith. So at least, even though there's not any food out here, monolith is a 2-2-2 tile. Early game, that you're not beating that early game. It's just not happening.
Planet's atmosphere, though a gasping death to humans and most animals, is paradise for earth plants. The high nitrate content of the soil and the rich yellow sunlight bring an abundant harvest wherever adjustments can be made for the unusual soil conditions. Lady Deidre Sky, a comparative biology of planet.
Okay, so we finally get to see what the wonder equivalent of this game is, secret projects. So the weather paradigm is awesome. This is the technology you want to get first in the game. And I mean, we kind of have. It's the one that we researched first, anyway. Let you build formers, which are just the workers of this game. Yeah, the weather paradigm means you can terraform 50% quicker than anybody else. We might go for it because we get a building advantage, we might not. I love what I see here, though. This is the US Unity wreckage. University made its first research in 2106. So for context, we started in the year 2100. It took them 6 years to research a tech. It took us 21. That's the difference. So something over here blew up. Oh, somebody... It's a copter. And that means... Okay. So our neighbour is a faction we don't want to see. The Believers. Well met, former Domai. I am now called Sister Miriam and act as the voice of the Believers, whose intent is to embrace the truth of the good Lord Scripture. I see you and your minions have flourished on this unforgiving world. We won't talk through everybody's text, we'll be here forever. So, most of the AI will do this at the start of the game. They will try and trade their unique text to one another. And we do want that. They want Centauri ecology. They will give us doctrine mobility. We're going to say absolutely.
Once a man has changed the relationship between himself and his environment, he cannot return to the blissful ignorance he left. Motion of necessity involves a change in perspective. Commissioner Pravin Lal, A Social History of Planet.
So we can now build rovers, or speeders as they're called, and the command center, which is kind of like a barracks in most 4X games. But the reason why we saw that blow up is because they got the copter from the US Unity wreckage, which is what I really wanted to grab, but alas they already have. Another trade? Sure.
If you can discover a better way of life than office holding for your future rulers, a well-governed city becomes a possibility. For only in such a state will those rule who are truly rich, not in gold, but in the wealth that makes happiness, a good and wise life. Plato, The Republic, Data Links.
Thanks, Plato. So, Recreation Commons are used to counter drones. We're not going to run into that for a little bit, but every city will probably end up with one. They will trade their map for a tech. We're going to say no, because that's a science tech. They are magnanimous, so they do like us right now. That will not stay. And this is what always happens. They go, hey, an emergency has arisen. I want this tech for free. And I'm going to say no. Because you'll notice at the bottom, their might is pathetic. We're feeble, but they're even more weak than we are. They want us to be friends, and I'm going to say for now, yes, absolutely, because they have a really scary start. They can't research the first 10 turns of the game, but they get a 25% bonus attacking everything.
uncovered.
Oh, they didn't get everything, though. So we got... oh... Wait, hang on. So we got some map information. So we know where all the other leaders are. We can't talk to them. But yeah, so we have Morgan and Gaia pretty close to each other. And it looks like they might be on the same landmass as us. It's hard to tell. And then the University and the Hive are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tiles away from each other. And Lal is right next to us as well. I wonder if this is all solid land border, because if it is, we're probably going to want to try and box at least one of them in pretty quickly. Getting here is not practical, but what we can do is probably settle in this area on land. And assuming, hoping that this is not all land as well, we might be able to slow her down. But she's here. That I'm pretty sure you get from the US Unity wreckage for free. So she might have landed on one of these pods and it just like sent her to a random location. It's hard to say. But clearly we're going to have to prioritize scouting near this area and then down to Lal.
Turn complete.
How long is your colony pod going to take? 3 turns?
Request confirmation.
We can spend money to speed that up. And then after that, get a former. I thought about getting a network node, but we're going to wait on that. And then your colony pod's only just started. You don't want to rush things when the top row's not full because it costs a fortune to rush those. But we are going to add a former to that list as well. We don't have a mega start here. It's okay, but it's not going to blow the world down.
Production complete.
Colony pod. We're probably going to have to settle where? Do we rush up here? I don't think we do. I think what we do instead is we either settle down here or down here. You can't settle on rocky terrain and you can't settle on fungus, so I don't even know if there is a tile down here we can use. But I think we're going to have to just kind of go in that way and see what we see. Yeah, and then we'll start moving this back. We'll still have our rover scout up here, so we want to see how much land there is. Not a ton in that direction, which is good, honestly. We don't need too much land. Too much land is just as bad as having not enough. So that might be an edge. There's Lal. That's annoying. We will trade text, though.
Scientific theories are judged by the coherence they lend to our natural experience and the simplicity with which they do so. The grand principle of the heavens balances on the razor's edge of truth. Commissioner Pravin Lal, A History of Science.
So we can now produce units with 2 attack. Not a huge amount of difference. Another tech? Sure.
We hold life to be sacred, but we also know the foundation of life consists of a stream of codes, not so different from the successive frames of a watch vid. Why then cannot we cut one code short here and start another there? Is life so fragile that it can withstand no tempering? Does the sacred brook no improvement? Chairman Shen Jiyang, Dynamics of Mind.
I do enjoy when Lal gives you a tech that the quote is for Yang or vice versa, because those two, every game will hate each other. Just the way that ideology is set up. And in your case, I will take a map from you. He's submissive, so he's scared of me for some reason, even though he's got formidable might. The problem here is that he and Miriam will hate each other, again due to ideological reasons. For now, I'm going to say yes, but I can already see that we're going to have to break friendship with one of them. We're just going to see which horse to back. He has spread his borders out a lot already. That is not good. But what is good, this doesn't look like it's contiguous. We might be able to expand out here with relative safety unless it's connected over here. But that does tell us where we should be expanding anyway. It gives us some good pointers.
Turn complete.
What is a little terrifying is that we're not going to have a border city between him and us. And, in terms of our capital, which sucks. But we're going to have to do some strategic settling, so we're probably going to have to go over here. Is that... Ooh, okay, so Miriam might not even be on the same landmass as us. Which would be a very lucky escape. She's now in the way, and due to zone of control, I have to go around her like that.
Pod recovered.
Oh, we fell through a dimensional gate. Yes, she doesn't have a land border to us. That's perfect.
Turn complete.
There's a lot of land over here that Lao's going to end up occupying. That sucks. And there's a fungal tower. So a fungal tower is just a static, essentially mindworm mass that will spread fungus around it, although that one's a baby. I'm still probably not going to touch it straight away. What is not a baby is the length of this video. So we'll put a cut in here. If you did enjoy the video, let me know. Have you played Alpha Centauri before? And either its original guys or its Alien Crossfire expansion? Let me know if you have, what your first memories are. And if you do find this game intriguing, maybe you've never seen it before. It's on GOG. It's on Steam now too. Super cheap. But yeah, please do stick around, like the video, subscribe for more. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.